So we're going to go with the regular meeting first, and then the first thing is the Aboriginal acknowledgement. I'm not sure if you want me to read this, whether we can just say that we're acknowledging that. Does the board prefer me to read this? Are we okay with saying we're acknowledging them? I'm just going to say that I'll take it that we're okay that we're acknowledging that these are their lands, and we're privileged to be here. Okay. So I'll just move on to the adoption of the agenda then. The agenda was mailed to you, emailed to you. I assume it's all okay. Is there any changes to be made to the agenda? Any additions, edits? It's not seeing anything. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented? Moved by Sue. Do you have a second there? Second by Lena. Anyone contrary minded? The motion's carried. Okay. In the minutes of January 12th meeting, they were also presented to you. Any errors or omissions on the minutes? I'm not hearing any, so you did a great job again, Shiloh. So no errors or omissions. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Okay, moved by Jane and second by Sue. Contrary minded, that motion's carried. Okay, we'll move on to business arising. So Diversity Advisory Committee, is there a report to be made, Chief?
Very limited one at this point. The last Diversity Advisory Committee meeting was actually the afternoon of the last police board meeting. So that update pretty much encompassed everything that there was new to update, other than we're just waiting for. So what generally happens is between the notes and some of the work that's done in the committee, Dr. Magassa takes it back with him and then kind of formulates it into a package and then sends it out for review and maybe a little bit of homework sort of thing before the next meeting. So that's just kind of the stage we're at, just waiting for that package back and then to set up the next meeting.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, Chief, is it possible for us to see some material so that we get a sense of what kinds of subjects and issues you guys are talking about and Dr. Magassa is addressing?
Yeah, that wouldn't be an issue. Director Horswell was at the last meeting as well and participated in it. So I believe would be on the distribution list for that as a participant. And if not, we'll make sure that she gets it, but I'm sure it can go all around. I'm sorry, you had I'm pointing, but I realize it's not you.
I just want to say that we haven't received anything really because it's a working committee, right? So we are working in groups and we are developing terms and reference and goals and so we're giving the ideas, and so there's been no minutes or anything like that so far.
Yeah, but as he sends stuff back, I can.
Yeah, then we'll share. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There is a desire to share this as you go along, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Jane, you had a question? No? Okay.
I was going to ask the same question, so it was Sue asked it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So 4B is board committees. So those documents were circulated. Sue did make some comments, and actually I made some comments too. So does anyone have anything to say about those committees in terms of reference here? Yes, Liz.
I had a question about the commendations. The purpose on the commendations matches the purpose on the governance one, so I actually don't think that that's supposed to be in there.
Yep, that's correct.
And then it says, as outlined in the Nelson Police Department policy of the commendations, which states, and then it's blank.
So,
and then it says that they should meet at least once or twice per year. I figure we should pick one to make it concise.
Let's make it twice then. Shiloh, can you make those changes?
I can do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then it seems like we got a note about there's the HR committee, and it seems like we have two committees that make up the same as the HR committee, because we have a recruitment and selection committee and then a chief constable contract review committee. But the HR committee seems to encompass both of those.
Yeah, and I think they should be two separate things, Liz. That's my thought, is one of them pertains to HR, personnel commendations, and, you know, things like that related to recruitment of staff. And the chief, the assessment of the chief should be completely separate.
Yeah, so then I think we would need to separate that out and have two separate terms of references.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Lena?
Well, I think that a lot of work needs to be done. Like, I think what Shiloh has done really is gotten information from other police boards, I guess, existing, and then, you know, we're cutting and pasting, and that's why you see things missing and, mistakes like that. But there was also some comment that the governance committee and the commendations like that, I think it was M, you suggested we shouldn't have a governance committee. And when I look, you know, what they do as a committee is very, very different. So I'm just feeling like it's too much information, rush. But it's really important to have viable working committees that make sense. And we just need to put a little more time. Like, I think this is a good start. We've got all this information, but we need to have a separate meeting where we go through it and then have, you know, like you say, Liz, with the HR, like normally HR committee does hiring, does the evaluations, you know, so we want that separated. Just to be clear, we can do that, but it feels rushed. I just don't feel right to say,
Sure.
get rid of this committee, or we don't need that committee, because we haven't really had any discussion about it. So
Good
that's what I-
points. No, good points. I think that, but maybe we're giving suggestions to Shiloh right now, and then she could redo them. We're not going to finalize this today. I agree with you. The thoughts that I'm hearing here is that for the chief's contract and evaluation should be a separate committee than through the HR committees. Is that the board's feeling?
That's my feeling, yeah.
Is everyone else agreeable to that?
Yeah, I agree.
So then Shiloh will take those portions of the HR committee and create another committee just called the Chief's Contract and Valuation Committee. Okay, so then that'll be a committee all on its own. And then all those particular terms of reference that relate to that, the evaluation, the compensation, and the succession plan will be in there. Yeah, it's a pretty significant committee for us, and I agree that it should be separate. Sure. And when with regards to the commendation committee, again, maybe we have to see. Well, I wanted your opinion of what I said was about the governance committee. Do you really need one? Because governance is something that applies to the whole board. So pretty well anything to do with governance, we should bring it up ourselves. That's what I felt. But how do you feel? I mean, a separate committee, then what does the board really do?
I liked the pieces in the governance committee. It's stuff that I think that we don't do on a regular basis in our meetings. And I agree, we should all be aware of the governance piece of our roles, but this, I think, solidifies that we would be taking all steps to ensure that we are doing the best governance possible. And it shows that we take it very seriously, and that it's important to us and that we're doing it correctly.
A separate function, that's what you wanted to ask. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Lena.
Yeah, I support what Liz is saying. I think it's really important. You know, we're supposed to govern, but really we don't know what that means sometimes. And for example, the evaluations we did recently for the board, I found that not satisfying at all, because we are just giving our own opinions we haven't really looked and said, hey, what's working for us and what hasn't worked. So, you know, if we are really serious about our role, I think a governance committee will just, you know, I think we'll all be involved, but the committee will just make sure that we do things in a timely way, that evaluations are done in a meaningful way, that kind of thing. So, you know, like I said, again, we just need to spend a bit more time to decide what these committees will do so that they are effective.
But then it seems to me that we should actually, you know, maybe we have, you know, one or two people looking at one or two of the committee definitions and actually working on it between now and the next meeting. Because if we don't designate anything, nothing will
I think
happen.
it's done, yeah.
Agreed.
Am I hearing the name of a volunteer to do that? Why don't we have Liz?
Well, I'll volunteer to work on the separation of the HR versus the chief's review committees.
Okay, great. That's good. And Lena, how about you looking at the governance? You seem to have spoken very
Sure,
well.
I will look at that.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to jump in, and maybe Shiloh, I can work with Shiloh on that one.
I think Charlotte would appreciate our input to
Yeah.
say this is where we want. She's brought us all this material, like you said. Now we need to
Mhm.
sort it out and make it specific, task specific. So that's good. So that's
I
fine.
can do the commendations if there's anything that needs to be changed in there.
Excellent. So
And Am, I'm going to volunteer you for the financial committee.
that's no problem.
It's pretty straightforward.
And it's pretty easy for me to do that one. I'd be happy to do that.
I'm
So
going to
what I'm
volunteer
hearing
since,
is- Sorry.
sorry,
good.
I'm going to volunteer to be Sue's second pair of eyes, given that she's doing two. Does that make sense?
That'd be great.
That's
Yeah,
great.
okay.
Can I suggest one other thing is that when we look at all of this material, in particular the governance one, Lena, because I think it's probably the one that has the most content that sounds really good and official.
Yeah.
Let's pare it down to stuff that actually makes sense and is relevant.
I'm very practical, so.
Excellent.
So-
Words are, just fancy words, and the policies just sit in a binder.
Yeah.
So Shiloh, it appears that the board wants to have a separate governance committee. So those terms of reference are fine. And then Lena will refine it as it should. And then we also have a separate committee for the chief's contract and evaluation. That's it. Okay, great. I think we're getting, we're not making any decisions here. We're just getting more input, and they'll all go to you, Shiloh, and then you can rewrite their committee terms of reference, and we'll look at them in the next meeting if we're ready. If not, we'll look at it again. Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 5, which is the chief's constable's reports. So we'll start with BCAMP. Chief.
Okay, BC AMCP and BC ACP are just kind of getting wound up again from the Christmas New Year's break, it seems like. Nothing much to report. This coming week, I have committee meetings to do with the cybercrime committee, and also there's a committee on vulnerable people, addictions, and mental health issues that we'll be meeting on prior to the actual BC AMCP meeting next week. So should be a busy week coming up with that material, but not much really to report today. On the community policing front, is that static from my computer? Or is it just me?
Yeah, we can hear it a little bit. Not sure.
Yes,
Okay.
We'll
quiet now.
it's okay now.
Yeah. On the community policing front, you probably saw some in the news, some of the issues we had with the overdoses last week, or 10 days ago now, roughly. We ended up with, I think we were close to 16 overdoses in just over a 48-hour period. So it was pretty busy, pretty intense. We ran out of the naloxone spray, so we had to do kind of an emergency order of that, just because a number of people were taking multiple doses just to bring them around. But fortunately, we were able to get some additional Narcan, so we could continue with that. We did work with some of the community partners and anchors and that, trying to identify what the issues were, trying to work on identifying the source. I wouldn't say that it's completely gone, but we seem to have come out of the worst of it anyways, and we continue to work on that front. So I guess, knock on wood, we've been pretty good this past week, but there's still been some sporadic cases, and a little more than there has been over the last couple of months. So it's certainly concerning for us. The other community policing thing I'd report on is I had a meeting with the emergency shelter services meeting today. Good discussion on, you know, how the police and some of the issues around homelessness, some of the concerns downtown with around the loitering and some of the issues that come with that, some of the challenges that the different shelters and that have. Quite a few topics, probably too much to get into in this update, but we're having some regular meetings. You know, they would like to look at some of the solutions to dealing with some of the overcapacity issues for the shelter, and then I guess some of the special needs people that the shelters aren't set up to handle, that alternatives that could be put into place, and maybe where the police role and that would be. And one of the other topics that came up that's you know, obviously going to take a fair bit of further conversation and study, but the issues around the possibility of a safe consumption site in the community. So you know, there's obviously a lot of points of view on that, and I think could be a very engaging conversation. So we'll see where that goes. But those are a couple things on the horizon for the next couple weeks or a couple months for some more meetings. I am going to be discussing some of those things tomorrow on the department heads meeting with the city as well. So just to kind of get a little bit of input and heads up to them to maybe start thinking about some of these things as we move forward on them. In regard to the Nelson Police Foundation, probably the biggest thing, again, we're still working with a bit of the unknown and some of the problems Am was dealing with as far as the governance in policing and the committee in town. I think we finally made a decision that the gala is going to be put off until the fall. I think that is ultimately the best decision, and I think, you know, apart from COVID, which, you know, we're going down to the wire as to whether the restrictions were going to be lifted, and even then, I think the anxiety and people's concerns over coming to the gala, we probably wouldn't have had the best turnout, and there might still be restrictions about mingling and talking, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the gala. So I think it was a good idea. We can work on, you know, the theme for the gala is the 125th anniversary, and I think it gives us the opportunity to do a number of other smaller events and do some celebration, do some activities. We have some things in mind throughout the summer, and then it sort of culminates with the gala in the fall, where we can kind of review and maybe showcase some of those achievements over the year and make it into a big event that it should be, not a, you know, a small rushed event where everybody can't leave their table. So it was a good decision. It's kind of disappointing, again, something was put off, but I do think it'll be a lot better turnout and a lot better event by taking the time and putting it off to the fall. We've got a couple other 125th anniversary things we're working on. I'm hoping to have some samples and things to show you for the next meeting. So we'll go to there. And Raj, Deputy Saini, has been working with the restorative justice a little bit this past couple of weeks. So I'm just going to let him do the update for the restorative justice piece right now.
Thank you. Before we do, Raj, how about the board having any questions from the chief? Any questions? Jane, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the update, Chief. I noted that just before we got on our meeting, there was the provincial minister responsible for mental health and addictions was giving a briefing on the, you know, significant increase of overdose deaths and you know, the worries around the drug supply. So it seems like we're seeing this exactly the same thing here. The much higher rates of fentanyl in the drug supply. Is that kind of what is going on?
Yeah, there's definitely a higher concentration, and that's, you know, there's that ripple effect of a couple of things there. You know, and I'm not quite, and we've had those discussions here of what's driving that, because, you know, you would almost think the suppliers wouldn't want to put extra product into the drugs that are being sold, but as time goes on, there seems to be somewhat of a tolerance or resistance to fentanyl, which, you know, the levels of fentanyl that are in the drugs right now years ago would have resulted in significantly more fatalities. You know, unfortunately, they're still resulting in overdoses, but you know, we're seeing that it's taken 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 doses of naloxone to bring people back out of it. So definitely the amounts are up. We've had them tested at Anchors, and they've confirmed that, you know, where it used to have been 10, 15% fentanyl, now it's 30%, sometimes 40%. So, you know, it's a little bit alarming, and I'm hoping that that trend isn't going to continue with keeping to increase the dosage amounts, because it's certainly causing issues.
Thanks. And then just one other question, that the housing or the shelter capacity and capacity to house people, is there still housing being provided through the province, like at the motel and whatnot, or is that finished?
No, that's still there, and I'm not aware of any plan to halt that. I would have to look into that before I can say that for sure. But yeah, the North Shore Inn and BC Housing is still running that. And
okay, thank you.
Anyone else? That's good. Thanks very much, Chief. Deputy Chief.
Thank you. Just give a quick update in regards to restorative justice. I've met with Kathy 3 times now since my arrival here. There are currently 3 files for this year. 1 has been completed successfully. 2 are currently being worked on. And I got further information in regards to the restorative justice program and details that I can probably elaborate a little more in the in-camera session and where we're kind of going with it. But that's just the update for now.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? Committee, board? Okay. Thank you. Then we'll move on to the next.
Just a comment, Anne.
Yeah.
3 records already in this year is a record. So I'm really pleased to hear that. And I hope that it continues to develop and to be used more fully.
Yeah, Kathy's been doing a good job, very good job. So yeah, I don't see it not developing at all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 6, director's reports. So CAPG, the only thing I can tell you is what's on the table at this point, that they're talking about that conference in September in Saskatoon. And if directors are interested in attending, then you should let your name, you should let Shiloh know, and she can go through the registration process for you. It'll be what they call a hybrid. That's what they're planning. So half the people that will attend in person, they figure, and the other half of the majority will be virtual. That was the plan. Okay. CAPG is doing a lot of things. It amazes me how popular they've become. And there's a whole lot of other organizations that want to join the CAPG. It sort of reminds me that, my term will be up this year. And so I will also probably be ending my term with the CAPG. So if any of you would be interested in running as a director of CAPG, you should let me know. I can certainly put your name forward. Okay. Any questions on CAPG affairs?
Yep. Sorry,
Yeah.
question. What's been the past practice of attending this in person, like pre-pandemic? Have people attended this in person, or?
Yes, we have. Not every year, but it has been almost like every second year, and about 2 people do attend. So, but there's no reason why we could not have people attend every year. I think it's a part of a national organization, and as you know, this is the world is a village now, so that everything that happens anywhere in Canada, even the rest of the world, affects our policing as well. So I would encourage all of you directors to consider that. It's same at the BC Association meeting and the CAPG meeting. So,
Thank you.
anything else? Okay, the chair's report. Well, the chair must be in Creston by now or somewhere. So that's his report. All right. The vacancies, the correspondence information, yes, that's been told. The 2 positions that are coming vacant will be the one by the city. which is presently Liz is the representative of the city and one through the province. So, Charlo, the ads are posted. Are they on the paper as well?
Only for Liz's, only the municipal one's been posted. The province hasn't released the provincial one yet.
Okay. Is there any?
Am, can we be reminded of when the specific date when your terms are up? Do you guys know that?
I think it's going to be June, if I remember right.
I think I'm September.
September, yeah. Okay, so then it's September, yeah. Well, which makes sort of sense. So it should be
Okay.
September because that's when my term will end with the CAPG and also with the BC APB. So maybe it is September then, yeah. Okay. And I'm not sure if they're telling us to, encouraging us to find people who would be willing to put their name forward. Then, and if not, then we should anyway. You get the right mix and everything. So that's all we have to talk about in there. No, she said the action list. Is there anything in the action list that we should be addressing today?
We've already addressed anything that needs to be addressed.
Okay, that's excellent then. So are we any other questions or any other business? If not, we want to move into in camera. So is there anything to discuss?
I move we adjourn the regular meeting.
Okay. Seconder, second by Liz. Anyone contrary minded? Meeting is adjourned. So we'll move on to the in camera.
Am, just 1 second, will I stop the recording?
Sure. Okay.